You're ready to go.
All right. So welcome everyone for the Test of Time Award ceremony of ASIACRYPT 2021. So the Test of Time Award of the IACR is given yearly for each one of the 3 IACR general conferences. So one for EuroCrypt, one for Crypto, and one for ASIACRYPT. And it's given for a paper that has had lasting impact on the field. So the eligible papers are ASIACRYPT from the papers from the same conference 15 years earlier. So this year, eligible papers for ASIACRYPT were the papers of ASIACRYPT 2006, and we chose among all those papers one which had a particularly lasting impact on the overall field of cryptography. So the selection is done by a committee that changes each year, consisting of 2 members appointed by the board of directors of the IACR, as well as one representative, one of the program co-chairs from each of the 3 conferences. So this year, the selection committee chair was Uli Maurer, together with Nigel Smart, as appointed by the board, and François-Xavier Standard for EuroCrypt, Chris Pikert for Crypto, and myself for ASIACRYPT. So submissions for next year are open. So Nigel put a link. So if you want to nominate a paper from 2007, you are free to do so at the link he put on the chat. And so, okay, so as I said, we closed. So you can nominate papers. We closed nominations in February. So, but we weren't limited to nominations, so we can choose ourselves. And in this case, it was important because we actually received a very small number of nominations. But anyway, so we looked at all the papers and decided on the most impactful ones. And we selected, in this case, a paper by Jens Groth from ASIACRYPT 2006, titled Simulation Sound NISIC Proofs for a Practical Language and Constant Size Group Signature. And this paper was selected for constructing asymptotically optimal NISIC proofs and group signatures without using random oracles, and paving the way to practical constructions. So congratulations, Jens, who is attending this session.
Thank you, Mehdi.
Congratulations.
Okay. Yeah, if I can say a few words. So this is work that I did when I was a postdoc at UCLA. So I would thank Amit Sahai and Raphael Ostrovsky for hosting me. And it was a very productive time. So we had several papers on how to do non-interactive zero knowledge based on pairings. And this particular paper, I also want to thank the selection committee for digging it out, because there were several papers we wrote, and I guess this one slipped a little under the radar, but it's actually a paper that's really close to my heart. So I'm very happy that the selection committee kind of found this paper and gave me the award for this paper. So the history is that at that time we figured out how to do non-interactive zero knowledge proofs for pairings, and to start with, that was on a gate-by-gate basis, bit-by-bit basis. But what you really want is efficient zero knowledge, right? And if you're paying the overhead for proving things gate by gate or bit by bit, then that's very expensive. So the purpose of this paper is to show that you can really do non-interactive zero knowledge directly for a language which is practical, which has makes direct sense in a cryptographic scheme. And the particular cryptographic scheme was group signatures. So with these new non-interactive zero-knowledge techniques based on pairings, you can now prove directly things about group elements that you're doing an exponentiation, you're multiplying a couple of field elements and things like that. And that allowed you to do group signatures with sort of like non-interactive zero-knowledge proofs, but they're not based on the random oracle model, but sort of like standard model. And which had a constant number of group elements. It was huge constant, and it has been improved since. I think we're talking about hundreds of thousands of group elements, but it was a constant. So it was sort of like a language which was practical. It really has sort of like the kind of things you want to prove directly, right? But it was a theoretical, practical result, so to speak. I want to note that I was not the only one noticing this. So there were also in parallel works by Brent Waters and Xavier Boyen that also did group signatures and also had some interesting results with constant size group signatures at the same time. And so like also had some discussions with Brent about that, I remember back in those days. So, but yeah, thanks very much. I'm very honored and very happy to receive the Test of Time Award.
Okay, congratulations again. If there are any comments, please speak up. Otherwise, I will express our congratulations again to Jens and move to the program chair's report.
Okay. Thanks, Mehdi.
So I didn't show it, by the way, but I believe all the awards for the conference, including the Test of Time Award, should be at some point framed and sent by mail to the authors, hopefully, to the awardees.
Yeah, I actually hope to be able to deliver the award in person to Jens soon. But yes, thank you. Congratulations, Jens.
Thank you, Michelle.
Okay, should I move straight ahead into the report then, perhaps?
Might as well.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the report from the program chairs, so Huashong Wong and myself, about the organization, the scientific organization of ASIACRYPT. So some highlights. We had the most submissions ever, 341, and also the most accepted papers. And I believe we also have one of the top numbers of registrations for ASIACRYPT. Maybe last year was more, although in practice, because of virtual or organizations, in practice, we noticed that the attendance in sessions is not actually breaking records. So hopefully we will soon go back to at least hybrid organizations that people can participate in person and devote their attention to the conference without having meetings all day that disturb them. So one change we decided to make is to have a larger program committee. So since we were expecting a relatively large number of submissions, and from maybe a broader set of areas, we wanted to broaden also the expertise of the PC. So we invited more members to the PC than usual. So we assembled a PC of 74 members, which was, I believe, fairly diverse in terms of expertise, academic seniority, geographical location, and to some extent, as we could, gender. So this larger PC allowed us to assign smaller than usual number of reviews to PC members. So each one got 15 reviews, which some of which they could delegate some to external reviewers. So we got the help of almost 400 external reviewers who contributed to the review process. So that's a bird's eye view of what the program committee looked like. So in terms of gender, we were 72% male. In terms of geographical location, we had 14% in Americas, so mostly US and Canada, but also some Latin American countries, and 43% each of Europe and the Asia Pacific region. So in terms of location as well, the program committee was relatively diverse. So how the review process went? So as I said, we had the 341 submissions, not counting duplicates or invalid submissions. Actually, that was a typo here. So we had 200 something submissions. So okay, so the review process, as usual for ASIAR conferences, was two-stage. So with a rebuttal phase, and so we decided also to have early rejection. So papers that really didn't seem to have any chance of getting accepted after the initial review round, received an early rejection decision. So this was about 100 papers. So 200 something, and I think it was 263, something like this, submissions advanced to the second round, and 95 were eventually accepted. So some got minor revisions, and after the PC could check that the revisions were implemented, they were officially accepted to the conference. And this gave so 27.9 acceptance rate. So we are 1% up from last year. So as a rule, submissions received at least 3 reviews and at least 5 for papers that were co-authored by a PC member. So unfortunately, there were a handful of papers that received less reviews, almost always due to COVID-related difficulties on the part of the reviewers. And so we apologize to the authors of those submissions for not being able to find reviewers on time for their submissions. And so as usual, so PC members were allowed to submit up to 2 papers and 1 if the paper was single author. So we put together, fortunately, I believe, a great program that consisted of Andrew Yao's distinguished lecture yesterday, 2 invited talks. So Kazue Sako a couple of hours ago, and Yu tomorrow. So we decided for the first time for an ASIAR virtual conference to have parallel tracks. So the 16 technical sessions were divided in those 2 parallel tracks with short live talks and Q&A. So about 5 minutes for each talk. And you have longer talks on YouTube. So we didn't yet receive specific feedback, but my impression is that this parallel track format is working pretty well. So please let us know if you like it that way, or you prefer single tracks, even though this becomes a pretty long conference because of the number of accepted papers. And so the award papers so were presented on Monday in a plenary session, so they didn't get into parallel tracks. So you have one rump session coming soon, right after this session. And there are 3 social hours in the program, including language-specific rooms. We had one on Monday, and there's going to be one tomorrow as well. So many thanks to the volunteers who accepted to host those social hours. And this was organized by the general chair based on an idea from last year's ASIACRYPT. So I believe that's the only virtual conference where we have those language-specific rooms so far. So some silly statistics as usual. So this is the time of first submission of the papers of the conference. So if you look at submitted papers, you can see that we had 24 hours before the deadline, we had about 70 submissions, and this grew to 340 within the last day. So the latest submitted papers was actually 6 minutes after the deadline, because we decided to, especially because there was some confusion about the fact that the deadline was at noon UTC instead of midnight. We left a very small bit of slack in how we accepted. So fortunately, we didn't have to accept it. So there were actually 3 papers that were submitted after the deadline. None of them actually got accepted. The latest accepted paper, though, was submitted 9 minutes before the deadline. So as you can see, there's a small blip in the number of accepted papers towards the end, even though actually most of the papers submitted very late were not eventually accepted. So this is a word cloud for the submitted paper titles. So we thought that new Byzantine tests of fully linear encryption was something representative. And then this is the accepted paper title word cloud. So something like tight security of universal quantum MPC. So we'd like to thank many people about this conference. So all the authors of the submissions, all the conference speakers, the program committee and external reviewers. We especially thank Kevin McCurley and Kay McKelly for basically running this virtual event, and they have done a tremendous amount of work to make it happen. We thank Django, our general chair, the REM session chairs who will be running the event in a few minutes, Chichanok, Chuang Saksian Sup, and Kwa and Yuan. Our invited speakers and distinguished lecturers, Andrew Yao, Kazue Sako, and Yu. Zhenjian Bao and Springer for their help putting together the proceedings. All session chairs, social hour hosts, moderators, and so on, who we mostly invited on very short notice. So many thanks to them. And of course, many thanks to all the participants. Thank you very much. And since it's time, we can move on to the rump session now. So the floor is to the rump session chairs, Chichanok and Kwa.